All right, here we go. What's going on, y'all? My name is Rudy from the south side of Chicago. I'm ready whenever you're ready.
I show these little niggas how to move in silence.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Rudy, aka Professor Scott, CEO Rudy, Abstract Global Entertainment. So what I'm doing right now is I just want to talk to everyone. One of the biggest things that people talk with me about, or I find myself getting into a little debate, healthy debate, is when it comes to the law, right? So here's my disclaimer: I'm not an attorney. I am not practicing law. However, I do read information, and that's what I'm doing. I'm disseminating the information based on what I read. I encourage you to go invest some time in doing the same thing. Why? Because we all are required to follow the law as citizens of the United States. And ignorance of the law is no excuse. So with that being said, I put together a PowerPoint. It's called Corpus Delicti, which means body of the crime. Body of the crime, what I'm saying is, if you're arguing, you cannot be charged with battery. Okay? Each charge has elements. Arguing could be disorderly, but in order for it to be battery, there has to be physical contact. So you have to understand the charge and the elements, and that's the only way you can actually challenge it properly if you find yourself in that situation. But most importantly, if you know the law, you can avoid those situations by not even getting in trouble from the start. So let's start with the root, right, of the 13th Amendment, right? So I call it Origin 13. The 13th Amendment is an amendment that was put into play to keep slavery going. Okay? Now, please do not look at me like, oh man, it's another conspiracy theorist. And no. That's not the case. I'm only encouraging everyone, pull out your phones, just go to Google 13th Amendment. It says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. The next word after that is what I'm talking about. Is when it says except. Except where one has been duly convicted of a crime. That means once that judge makes his ruling, hit the gavel, guilty. If you take a plea bargain, no contest, guilty. If you go to jury trial, guilty. Does not matter. Legally, you are a slave. This is not nothing that I'm making up. 13th Amendment, O13. It's the origin of the 13th Amendment. Now, I'm going to take you back. It's called Corpus Delicti. And one of the first things that I want to talk about is when everyone was declared free. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed January 1st, 1863. Okay? Now, it took 2.5 years to get that message to Galveston, Texas. The reason why is because a lot of people were very upset that slaves were free. Okay? So along the way, you had people who were supposed to deliver the message. They were, murdered. It actually took 2.5 years. During that 2.5 year period, they were developing the 13th Amendment. So January 1st, 1865 is when the 13th Amendment was put into play. Now, the reason why that's so important is because June 19th, 1865 is when the message finally reached the people. And this is where we get Juneteenth from. Juneteenth is celebrated every year. So we're celebrating a freedom that actually doesn't exist. Slavery never ended. By the time they received the message, the 13th Amendment was already put into play. 6 months prior to that. So when they received the message, guess what happened? They celebrated. Public intoxication. Just different, all disorderly. And they were rounded up, due process, convicted, and now legally you were a slave. So this has been going on since 1865, January 1st. So I'm just letting you know, putting it out there. Go check, Google 13th Amendment. Google these dates, when it was put into play, Emancipation Proclamation, Juneteenth, all of these things. Don't just take my word. It's no conspiracy stuff. It's just me putting out information. Okay? So now, I'll talk about the next one. I'm going to touch a little bit more on January 1st, 1865 before I move on to what every arrest has to have in order to give a court jurisdiction over a person. And that's probable cause.
Abstract. Yeah.